Mr. Beast is moving into financial services. The SEC has weighed in on 5X ETFs. Unemployment is coming in worse than expected here yesterday, and Bitcoin is kind of just clinging on. We're going to talk about all that and a little bit more right now. But before we get going, smash that like button, subscribe. We've only got 120 subscribers to go until we hit 10,000 subscribers on Trade Cave. I'd like to thank every single one of you watching now and who are subscribed, and those about to subscribe. Thank you so much for getting us to this monumentous level. Also consider checking out the channel memberships, especially that stalagmite level where you get the real-time trade posts and members only videos. And of course, every level gets access to the videos early while they are scaling up to HD, so you get about a 20-minute head start on everyone else. Also, if you're in SodaStraw and you just want to support us, you get the badges, you get the emojis, you get priority reply to comments, all that stuff, and early access to the videos. Anyways, let's get into it. All right, we're going to start talking about Mr. Beast here. So he's getting into financial services. So big celebrity getting into financial services. That is a sign of an end nearing. Usually these people get in near the end of things. They don't lead the charge. They kind of bring up the rear end and leave everyone holding the bag. I'm not saying that is his intentions at all, but that just tends to be the trajectory. Usually they'll come in, they'll be late, and then the party will end soon after. So I'm taking this as a sign that we are getting into the more mature end of the bull run, and potentially the party might come to an end sooner than later, given that these players are entering the space now. Also, this is something that's very interesting. The SEC has said no to the 5X ETFs. Super interesting. You know why? Because I've mentioned this several times before that the 5X would be the end of the market. Basically, with the 5X ETFs, the market would just have to drop 20% and it would completely wipe out all 5X traders. So that would likely lead to a leverage unwind and potentially a recession. So watch this carefully, because I don't think that it's over. I think they may push this into 2026 because they don't want to see a recession right in the middle of the midterms. There's, the Republicans got all three arms of the government right now, and if they get a big recession because they let a bunch of 5X ETFs out onto the market, they're probably not going to keep their seats in their power. So be aware of that. They're playing that game. And it wouldn't matter who is in power. They'd all play the same game. This isn't to say, oh, they do this and the other doesn't. I don't want to see any of that in my comments section. Whoever's in control, if they have the power to stay in control, they're gonna do it. All right, that's just human nature. That isn't a partisan thing. All right. Anyways, 5X ETFs are getting the chopping block, so they might shove off that big watershed moment until after the election. I would not be surprised, and check me on that, in November, December of 2026, if these start getting approved after the midterm election. Be very alert for that, because then that would mean that 2027 would in fact be the terrible, no good, bad year. Okay, economic calendar. We had yesterday jobless claims came in. Initial jobless claims came in slightly lower than expected, so not too bad. But the day before, on Wednesday, ADP employment was expected to come in at plus 40,000. It came in negative 32,000, and we went up anyway, so that's very interesting. So super interesting there. And that is basically all we got to do. Now let's go look at Bitcoin. We're also going to talk a little bit about Zone. Somebody asked me about Zone, so I'm going to give my 2 cents on that. I'm going to give you a little hint right now. It's not great. Anyways, Bitcoin. The fact that it's not just going straight up to the 50 here gives me pause. I don't like that. It shouldn't struggle here. Okay, it shouldn't be struggling. The fact that it's struggling bothers me. So if we come in here and we do a channel, we're looking at this channel right here, right? We're kind of in the top half of this channel. We lose the top half of the channel, that'll be the 9 and the 20, and we come back down. And if we bounce, then great. We're going to continue on that bear flag. Let me draw it with the pen there. I have too many drawings. So we have this channel, right? And if we come back down and touch this and bounce, great, we'll continue on this flag. But as soon as this lower line here breaks, we're going lower. Okay, currently I really think that we're gonna move up to about 95.5, 96, if you look and see that little volume, that's the next little volume spike. If we can get above 93, notice how we went from volume spike to volume spike. Let me just blow this up over here and do this. Okay, notice how we went volume spike to volume spike, right? We came down to this volume spike here at 86. Now we swept it, but we never really got too disconnected from it. We came down to the one at 84 for a day, and then we went right back up to 86, and then we went up to the volume spike at 91, came back to the one down at 96, then we moved immediately back up to the one at 91. Now we're getting stuck at the one at 93, and the one above that is 96, 95, 96. And if we take a couple more days to get there, this 50 is going to catch us there at 95, 96, and then we're going to tap that from below, right? This is going to just kind of do it. Oh, let me do that better. Let me do that better. Okay, this one's going to kind of come down, 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 down like this, something like this, and we could drift into it, and then we find ourselves coming down again. And that would be just a really long, nasty bear flag, which wouldn't be too different from that really long, nasty bull flags. The long, nasty bull flags we've been seeing over and over again that go on for days and weeks before resolving to the upside, right? Like there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's another one right here, 4. Like before we see these long drawn out slow moves, grindy moves, and then we see the real move soon after that. So don't be surprised if we see this flag continue on to about 96 in like a week or two and then roll over. Now if we conquer the 50, then I'd feel pretty bullish. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'd like to see this double bottom resolve to a push up into 102, maybe 111, and then maybe give us some sideways action before moving up to I don't even want to see sideways action on Bitcoin. I really just want to see straight up action, because that's the nature of Bitcoin. And if it's not doing that, well, then it's not doing Bitcoin things. So that has me a little concerned. Now, I will talk about zone real quick. I've got it up here somewhere. Where's zone? There's zone. Zone fell off a cliff. I got out of zone when I was about 50% down, around like a little like $1.50 or something, before this huge watershed moment. So what happened to zone? They lied. They straight up lied. They said they were going to get 1 billion Doge. They didn't. And they don't seem to have any interest in doing that. They diluted to an insane amount. If you look over here on the bottom right, you can see free float shares are now at 189 million shares. They're just dumping shares on your head, not buying Dogecoin with that capital raise. They're just taking your money and running. So Zone turned out to be a complete and total scam, allegedly, a complete and total scam. The only way I'd have any interest in Zone is if they hit that billion Doge target and we're trading about on par with Doge. That's the only way I'm going to have interest in Zone these days. I see that they're just liars. They're just liars. They're not doing what they said they're going to do. They're not good shepherds of capital. Their management is obviously complete trash, and allegedly, and they are taking your money and running. They had 14 million shares when I bought at $4. They had 14 million shares when I bought at like $4, right? And then they went to 40 million shares, and it dropped, right? And then it went to 40 million shares. Didn't drop that far, so I was like, okay, somebody's buying those shares. And then they dumped another 150 million shares on us. And it just dump. It's almost on par with Doge. They still don't have their billion Doge. Complete scam. That's what I'm saying. That's my opinion. Of course, nothing I say is financial advice and not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. You got to do your own research, come to your own conclusions, be responsible for your own risk, because investing is risky and you could lose it all. So you got to be aware of all that stuff. I did say that this was a gamble position. It was just kind of zero or hero. I let it drop about 50, 60%. I took out what remained. I think I'm still holding like 50 or something. And that's it. I have no interest in really looking at it until it is either breaking up towards like 50 cents or it is on par with Doge and they have 1 billion Doge. Until then, they're just liars to me. Anyways, moving on. So CleanSpark, yesterday we had a nice little update. We're getting a nice little bull flag right here. I like this little bull flag, but we are still between the 50 and the 20, and I don't love being between the 50 and the 20. Basically, that gives us a top of like 1586 and a bottom of 1291 where we would range. Could you do an iron condor on there? Yeah, probably, but I'm not going to do that on a crypto AI-based stock because these things move explosively. So big disappointment. It did come up to the 50. It rejected on 50. It's trying to come down to the 20. The 20 is holding it up. As long as the 20 is holding it up and the 50 is going between it, when it gets out above the 50, when it gets above the 50, yeah, it's going to be pretty explosive. But if it gets below the 20, it's going to hit the 200 again. Let's take a look at Mara. Similar situation, but Mara is lagging again. So Mara is lagging. We're between the 20 and the 9. So if it gets above the 20, yeah, we're going to hit the 200 real fast. If it loses the 9, we're going to come all the way back down to single digits. Okay, that's that. What was another one? Hive was one, same sort of scenario, right? We came down to the 200, we're above the 9, so we're trying to move up to the 20 at 367. And if we get above that, yeah, we're gonna move up $1 or so. If we go back below the 9, we could come back down to the 200, which is gonna hit us right at 276. What's going on with IREN? Yesterday we popped by 7%, but look, the 9 is still holding us down. So now we're below the 9. As long as we're below the 9, we got a date with the 200. If we're above the 9, we might touch the 20 or the 50. But as long as we're below the 9, trajectory is 200 until proven otherwise. So Luna is another one, 11% up yesterday, but it's kind of holding. So I wouldn't be, this one is one that likes to like go sideways for a really long time. And then when it finally breaks, like if it breaks down, yeah, you're going to come back down to 50 cents or less. If it breaks up, we're going to come up and we're going to hit 260, maybe go sideways again, and then go up maybe $4 or $5 from there. We'll see. Soluna is still one that's interesting to me. I sold most of my Soluna for hundreds of percent, and we're coming back down towards that $2 range and or 150 range. And I am kind of interested here. Maybe I'd start nibbling here because they are a power play now. More so than a Bitcoin play. They're a power play, which is an AI play. So I'm interested in them while they're going sideways. I haven't bought anything yet, but I would be interested in this level. But if it loses the 200-day moving average, I would cut it because it's going to come all the way down to this volume spike down here, which is at like 55.48 cents, somewhere in there. It's going to come down to there again in that scenario. Bitfarms, I had good words about Bitfarms yesterday, and you know what? I still have good words about Bitfarms. I don't hate this. This is a pretty bullish little move down. It came down, hit the 9, and closed above the 20. I wouldn't. This one could move up to 364, and it is above the double bottom. It is above that double bottom, which could resolve to the 50 pretty easily. Now, does it mean that it will? No, it doesn't mean that it will. Will it take longer than expected? Possibly. Possibly it will. So like kind of like back here when I got into this double bottom down here, it took way longer than I thought. Like all of this right here, I ended up getting stopped out and then having to re-enter before I could get into it. So like these double bottoms could take a lot longer than you think to play out. But this is looking like a double bottom. It could move up to the 50, maybe higher, but like the 50 would be where my target would be at 364, which isn't very much. So I don't know if it's worth bothering. Cypher holding the 50, holding above the 50-day moving average. This is actually not bad. It's bouncing off the 50. That is also kind of an ugly double bottom, but like a bottom, and then we have the neckline. We went right on it. If we bounce here, we could be revisiting the high on Cypher. So Cypher is actually kind of a nice little setup there. Anyways, I think that's it. Ethereum also kind of interesting. We went above the 20, and now this one's giving us strength. Like Bitcoin didn't. It's like push. This one could hit the 50, maybe even the 200 for that. Solana was also showing some significant strength. Not significant, but slightly better strength than Bitcoin. Not by much though. Solana could move 160, maybe less. But these three are the three I'm interested: Bitcoin, Solana, and Ethereum, and a little bit more Ethereum and Solana right now, just because things are becoming tokenized. In terms of stocks are becoming tokenized, gambling markets are becoming tokenized. Soon your mortgage is going to be tokenized. Your car insurance is going to be tokenized. Your driver's license is going to be tokenized. All that stuff, and some of that's going to be on Ethereum. Like the really important things that need to be super secure on a super trusted chain that's been around the longest are going to be on Ethereum, and things that matter a little bit less that need to be a little faster, like ticket sales, gambling, things like that, that's going to be on Solana. And those two interest me because they have that use case, whereas Bitcoin is going to fluctuate a little more like gold as we go forward. I mean, it already kind of has, but like even more so. Anyways, that's all I've got for you today. Go ahead and smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. We've only got 120 left to go before we're at 10,000. Help us get there. Check out the channel memberships, especially that's the Lagmite level where you get the real-time trade posts and members-only videos, and have a profitable day.